Hey everyone, welcome to On the Line. It's Tuesday, December 5th, and I'm Cory here with Olivia Ekbene. We are both back from coverages this weekend in Alabama and Portland, so we have plenty to talk about for sure. This weekend featured 2 national cross-country championship races and also featured the beginning of the indoor track and field season. You could cut the stakes with a knife this weekend at both of those races, but from that we arrived with some national champions.
Busy weekend.
Yes, and we have a fresh dish of storylines to talk about. So let's dive into the first subject. Elizabeth Leachman went for it at NXN, then Addison Ritzenhein grabbed it. How do we feel about the girls' championship race?
I must say, Ashley and I were on the ground, including Bobby Reyes from Colorado at NXN. It was just an amazing day. I know for you, you were at RunningLane and it was raining. We had like flood warnings and all the water was there. Thankfully, it stopped raining right before the races kicked off and then it started raining afterwards. So everything was great. This was the girls' race was the most anticipated race, honestly, I think, for Ashley, Bobby, and myself as we were there on the ground. And it was just like Rachel Forsyth, Elizabeth Leachman, Addie Ritzenhein, Bethany Mahalik. We were like, who is going to win this race? And if you watch the replay of it, it was literally Rachel Forsyth just getting after it, Elizabeth Leachman slowly making her way up, and then there was a pack of 3 with Addie Ritzenhein, Bethany Mahalik, and Emily Wisniewski from Oregon, kind of in that pack mix there. So unlike the boys' race, the boys started out very conservative, but the girls, like, they were ready. Guns blazing, they were ready to go. And I feel like Elizabeth, as we have seen over the last several races, this is normal for her to get out, be aggressive, be strong, be in control. And honestly, I want to say this was almost like a risk because Bobby and Ashley and I were talking about it, and if you watch the boys race, like, it was a little bit more conservative. It was very tactical from the start, especially because you're not going for a fast time here. You're trying to get the win. And especially with the conditions, they were just not ideal, and you probably saw the replays of some of the stuff on social media. It was just like a mud fest. Ponds were starting to form on the course, and I feel like this was her national meet, her very first national meet, and so I was really impressed with her and how she kind of took that risk and wanted to get out and be aggressive. And I had a chance to talk with her after her race, and she was just like, this was a learning experience for her. She was like, I went out there, I did what I could, learned from it. She's ready to compete at Foot Locker this weekend. She's like, I'm just going to take it back and just dissect the race a little bit more and just see what I can do from there. So what were your thoughts on Miss Leachman here?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a risk. I thought it was her race plan. I mean, she races like that. That is how she gets out. And ultimately, she loses. Mm-hmm. That's the result of basically racing like that. I mean, that's something that I think you just have to combat, or you got to find reconciliation with, because when you set that pace and you put yourself up in that position, you accept it. You accept all those risks involved with it. But I think was her race plan. So the fact that she lost is just a result for me. And I think about that Prefontaine quote a lot, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. I think every time we see Elizabeth Leachman go out there, that is exactly what she did. Mm-hmm. Was talking to Will Grundy in Huntsville while this was happening, and we saw the result, how she got out at 4K and kind of came back. She did that at regions at the Texas Outdoor State Championship Series. I mean, she didn't qualify for states in the 3,200 meters because she got out so hot and then ultimately fell back. I mean, that's who she is. Like, that's how she's built. I think this might give her resolution next year to come back and basically see if she can throw it down again. Plus, she's got Foot Locker this week, so exactly. We'll see what can happen there. But I liked it. But as for Addie,
oh man,
watching that 5K, on tape, basically it was the first time I ever saw her through a full 5K, and she's like a metronome out there. Yeah. Really consistent. Really just knows her paces. Obviously, there's just no secret to it. She runs for one of the best teams in the country, and her father obviously has a lot and her mother has a lot to say about her progression. But with all the Colorado athletes, I think they approached it a way that obviously was successful. I mean, she was consistent. She maintained basically rather than threw in a lot of big surges. maybe we didn't see those surges, but I think it looked like maintenance a lot, and she just never let off the gas. And ultimately, the most consistent race in the girls' race, it felt like one, and that was her.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and of course, Bobby was there, and he screenshotted us a text that he sent to us back in September, and he was like, look out for Addie Ritzenhein, top 5 at nationals. And I know when he first sent us the text, I was like, all right,
yeah,
cool. But like now looking back and just looking at her season as a whole, like 1644 for 5K at Desert Twilight fast course, backs that up with a 1658 at the Colorado Regional Championships she competed in, won states, set the meet course record there, casually cruises to the Southwest, in the Southwest region, finishing 3rd, and here she drops a 17:10 underneath those conditions at NXN, which is super. I just can only imagine if it wasn't so wet, how fast she actually would have went.
Well, it would have been a different race.
Oh, absolutely.
It would have been an entirely different race.
Yeah. But the fact that she won it in 17:10 underneath those conditions just speaks volumes on the fitness level that she's at. And when you watch the race, like I felt like she was very in control. Like she didn't panic when she saw Rachel Forsyth and Elizabeth Leachman go out, and you can see her and Bethany really tag teaming, and Colorado just like pushing the pace a little bit more, gradually starting to wheel the girls in, and from there Addie just like let it go once she kind of closed that gap a little bit.
Yeah, championship races I think equalize talent levels because 10% of the race probably thinks that they can win, and on any given day they might be able to win. I think that was proof on the boys' side. So it really, what these results mean is that essentially, like, anything can happen on championship races. Like Gianna Raymer, who won Southwest, finished 6th here.
Yes.
So it's not like she was out of the picture. It's just, somebody had a better race. Addie and Bethany had better races. 5 Southwest girls finished in the top 10. Speaks to sort of the Colorado, I think, contingent going to NXN, really having great days. We'll get to the team side of things, but I think this really did throw a couple loops into the equation here with the top 22 results. So let's move to the boys' race, which was a lot surprising. JoJo Jourdon ends up winning NXN. Does this make perfect sense or make no sense?
I think it makes kind of sense. I really think it does. Like, just being there, right? Everyone, I felt like the majority of people there were like Danny Simmons. And you can even hear it through the commentary while we were even on the ground. They were asking, where is Danny Simmons? And he was like not in that top pack. He was in the middle. He was 71st through the 2K mark and then finished 13th overall. So he did, move up a little bit. And I feel like JoJo Jourdon really took advantage of that opportunity. He didn't look stressed whatsoever. He was very much in control. He crossed in at 15:16. And that was the 4th best performance of his season. And that was just simply impressive, just knowing that the conditions that he faced. A lot of people stepped up. Cameron Todd finishing 2nd, 15:18. Nathan Neal, I had a chance to talk with him before the race while he was doing his shakeout. And he did tell me, he was like, yeah, my goal is to be in that front pack. And regardless of how fast or how slow it was going to go, he was like, I'm going to be in that front pack. And I think that helped him to just run super well. And I know you wrote an amazing feature on JoJo Jourdon yesterday, and I think it does speak volumes on just how he's grown as an athlete over the last year.
Yeah. I mean, that sidebar kind of talks a little bit about what made him who he is. Last year at RunningLane, he finished 3rd overall, but he had a chance basically to win it with 800 meters to go last year, and maybe second-guessed himself. Maybe he didn't have what it took to compete with Stephen West. Whatever it was, he didn't get the job done last year. So does that make him the runner he is today and the runner he was at NXN? I don't know. I do think those memories of the past, those lessons you learn from all your races, championship, regionals, or whatever, help you develop into the racer that you become. And he didn't second guess himself at all at 2K. He just decided to go. It was slow at that point at 2K. So he was like, no one else is going to go. I'm going to go. And when it became a race where you really had to focus on your foot placement and really not making mistakes. No one was willing to surge then. Like, no one was willing to go too early because they saw what happened last year
Yes.
and how people kind of fell back. So that played all of it played in JoJo Jourdon's advantage. And as you said, like Simmons had a good race.
Yes.
He didn't have a winning race, but he had a great race. 1:16 at the 1K mark. He's in the hundreds there. 72 officially at 2K, 21st at 4K, 13th at 5K. I mean, that's an awesome race.
Yes.
He just all of American Fork. We'll talk about this later, but they just did not get out. Like they didn't get out. They didn't have a championship start, and that ultimately was their downfall.
Yeah.
And so allows a person like JoJo Jourdon to step up and get the win. We had him ranked 31st on the MileSplit 50 entering the race. All those guys are capable, but like this guy, I don't think anybody expected him to win.
No.
So the fact that he did just is an awesome moment for him.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, let's go to the team titles. They were awesome.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
Utah on the boys' side, Harriman ended up winning. On the girls' side, Air Academy ended up winning. Where do you want to start with first? You want to start with the girls?
We can start with the girls.
Okay.
I feel like the girls' race, it was just, history was completely made. Only you guys could have seen Bobby. Like, he was just, like, in his element, like, just over the moon. The fact that, and we've talked about this, too, how New York has been completely dominant when it comes to going 1-2, right? Like, we've seen it with FM, we've seen it with Saratoga Springs. Like, they know how to race, and they know how to race in Portland. This weekend, not only did Colorado go 1-2, but they went 1-2-3. And for me, that really just shows the depth that state alone has. And even just looking individually, 1-2 with Addie Ritzenheim, Bethany Mahalik. And the fact that, again, it came down to the top two programs that that I personally been waiting for, Air Academy versus Niwot, and it was just the race to watch. Niwot was actually winning through the first half of this race, but it just so ended up anything could happen, and toward that back end, like Air Academy just started moving up, and they were able to win the title 61 points to 72, which Niwot held, and Mountain Vista snuck in there for third with 163 points. And when you look at Air Academy and where they finished, second, fourth, ninth, 22 and 24, they really won it with those first three runners. And with Niwot, they were first, 15, 16, 17th, 23rd, just sneaking in there. But gosh, that race was unbelievable. And like the fact that Bethany saw all three of us and she's looking at us like, because of course the ticker's just going back and forth between Air Academy and Niwot. She's looking at us because he was finally like stable, and she's like, guys, did we win? And she's like, you can see it. And we're like, well, it's still moving, so we didn't want to like tell her and then all of a sudden crush her heart. But like Air Academy, I was just so impressed with how they ran as a pack. And honestly, I told this to Ashley, and I think I told you this too last week. I was like, if Bethany Mahalik could have history repeat itself with, I know she's had an up and down year, typical, but if she can put it all together at NXN, Air Academy is going to put themselves in that top pack. And sure enough, coming up second, that really helped, I think, push that team. And they all ran for each other that day, which was amazing just to witness.
61 points.
Yeah.
72 points. 72 is good enough to win almost every year.
Exactly.
This is kind of like Oklahoma State, NAU on the men's side and NCAA's.
Yeah.
61 will win you the race. 72 will win you the race. And really, those two were the only teams in it. Nobody else was under 100 points. You know, Mountain Vista, credit to them, but they scored 163.
Yeah.
Nearly 100 points separated, both of those top two teams from the third place team.
Right.
So it was clear in day. Like, those two teams were going to win the race. You know, the points were there. But yeah, I mean, it was really just sort of a slugfest at that point. And I agree with you with Mahalik. I mean, she could have very easily finished 15th or slid back. And the fact that she held at 2, got her team a point, that's what mattered. I mean, obviously this point total was decided by 11. So she was the determining factor there, I think, along with her team behind her. Great stuff there. On the boys' side, Harriman, American Fork, it went back and forth all year.
Yeah.
Harriman won early season meets against American Fork. American Fork won the big stakes ones like state championships and regions. But then here, all or nothing, Harriman wins.
Harriman wins. Incredible. They got the job done and became the first team from Utah to win. And I think what helped them to do that was the pack running. That was very essential for them. Finishing with 83 points, American Fork with 100. Harriman, 7, 9, 14, 19, 34. That is incredible. And then American Fork won 18, 24, 25, 32. Again, it was that pack running for them. That's what got them that victory.
Well, both of their teams, all scoring 5 members of them, had good races.
Yes.
Every single one of them improved from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
American Fork's strategy was to get out a little bit slower or measured, because every single one of them were in the hundreds to mid 150s basically at the start and through 1K. That ultimately set them back. Harriman got out a little faster, and then they were able to move up once they were in those positions to strike. So, I mean, Harriman, I think ultimately what set them apart basically was their start. Beckstrom, who finished 28th overall, was at 74th place through the 1K marker. He ended up finishing as an All-American. In total, all 5 of those guys moved up 115 places throughout the race, and they won by 17 points. American Fork moved up a total of 425 places across their top 5, and they scored 100. So give them another 1K, they win that race.
Yeah.
I'm certain of that, but it's a 5K. You race the distance. So Harriman had the better strategy on the day, and they won the day, and they've been going back and forth. So this isn't surprising that it came to Harriman on this day.
Yeah, I don't think it was a surprise. We already knew it was going to be between these two teams, and again, it was just that team was going to put the best performance on that day, and Harriman got it done.
Yeah, it was a great race. South Lake Carroll, shout out to them, 138.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
South Lake Carroll.
One of their best finishes. I think they were runner-up back in 2013, but that was one of their top finishes all time. And then Bella Jesuit also really good performance.
They ran well.
One small thing I do want to mention, is the variable of like focus going into championship races. Like, some teams like to be cool and laid back and let it come to them. Other teams are like super focused and like we have a job in front of us. Air Academy was tweeting and DMing and storying for us the whole weekend. Bell and Jesuit, same way. It did not matter. They raced incredible.
Yeah.
So just think about that. Do we really need to make this like a job? Does it affect runners like that? I think coaches really have to think about that because, and honestly, they raced well because they were relaxed and they just didn't get too stressed about it, it felt like.
Yeah. I feel like there's like a fine line between like being too relaxed and kind of not being focused. But I feel like I can relate to Air Academy. When I was competing, I was like, I kind of need to feel like it's a normal meet. Don't add and heighten the tension because it's just championships, right? I feel like that's when you start to get in your head. I feel like I kind of agree with like how Air Academy, Bell and Jesuit kind of approach it. It was like, let's just have fun. Like we're here for the experience, but when we get on that line, it does not matter. We're putting it all hands on deck to win this. It just takes the pressure off. Right?
Yeah.
And so you can kind of be yourself and be more relaxed. So I'm all for the laid back type. But however, I do know teammates, like I think of like Shamir Little, world medalist, and she's the focus type. Like she's like, don't really mess with me, and I'm like, that works for her. But for me, I'm like, let's have fun. Play around.
You gotta trust that your athletes will be ready to go, even if you give them a longer leash. I think it doesn't it's not a catch-all for everything, but in a lot of cases, I think kids will step up to the day. All right, let's go to the RunningLane Cross Country Championships, which also happened on Saturday in Huntsville, Alabama. Wild day, downpour. It rained hard on Saturday. There was a great tweet by our guy Ben Thompson out of Tennessee MileSplit where he wrote about the weather. And officially, Huntsville, through the last 3 months of the year, got a total of 3.35 inches of rain. On Saturday alone, Huntsville got 2.25 inches.
Wow.
Just bad beat.
Oh, man.
Bad beat all around.
Same thing last year, too.
Well, it didn't rain on the day, though.
Okay.
It rained up through the week, and then it didn't rain for the day. So the races themselves were good.
Yeah.
The course was torn up by the end, and the championship races were at the very end. This year, they moved up the championship races. It was the fourth race of the day and the fifth race, so the course was better. But at the very moment they started was when the hardest rain came down.
Oh no!
Hardest rain came down.
Oh,
so
man.
it was interesting.
So it was fun.
It was true cross country.
True cross country
for sure. And I'll start with the boys race on this one because honestly it presented maybe the more ambiguous outcomes. We didn't really necessarily, as we talked about, know exactly to an exact degree who was going to win. And as it started off, I think there was a front pack of runners that were in it. Mateo Tonis of Farragut, Jaden Merrick, and Isaac Rivera. They were all in it, and those are the guys we talked about. But then, a runner in a red jersey by the name of Daniel Scandera just kind of flew away at the final big hill there, and he pulled away, much like Stephen West, much like Colin Stallman of previous years, and this guy really stood out in a big way. Scandera is a former youth record holder at various distances. I mean, he was a superstar at a young age, and he moved from California to Alabama, and he's been running, but not like he's homeschooled, so he doesn't run for high school, so you don't see him that often. And even at the RunningLane Championships in May, he was running, I believe, with those barefoot shoes. So I mean, wow. he's a little different as a runner, but you've seen that before. But anyway, here just absolutely blew away, 15:05 for the win, and he ran 4 seconds faster than last year's winning time on a worse day, which I think you have to speak to that success a little bit there. So Daniel Scandera kind of was the storyline of the day at RunningLane overall, and he had a great outing.
I love the quote that I think he spoke with you afterwards, and he just said, I just made sure I started off really relaxed, and after the first mile, I put myself in a good position. I knew since I had to run this race before that the best place to make a move was right after that top of the hill, as you mentioned, and that was the deciding factor and was able to grab the win, which was super amazing to see.
Yeah, you got to go for that from that point. Sky Ridge on the other side. I don't think we mentioned this when we were talking about NXN, but you said the 1, 2, 3 Colorado teams overall. Yes. It actually was 1, 2, 3, 4 if you count RunningLane, because Fossil Ridge's girls ended up winning it on the guy side. Harriman, American Fork, and Sky Ridge. Sky Ridge won this race, third Utah team to do it in 4 years. I mean, Utah is developing this tradition of just throwing down in this race, and they were the team that came away with a big victory here. I mean, they got a little bit of a push there, but ultimately a great outing there.
Yeah.
You want to move to the girls' race?
Let's go to the girls' race. That one was exciting to see. Evelyn Purdell, thank you. Just put it down against a very loaded field. She's been undefeated all season. She ran a 16:59 to set a personal best. She grabbed the Ohio State Championship title, then clocked a 17:32 during the downpour rain to win the Golds race in her 11th straight win. And I think what's really impressive is she was 41st last year at this race, comes back and wins the gold race. And I think just gaining that experience, and of course just having that opportunity to run on the course, run underneath these conditions, it's just going to make her a better runner as a whole. So I was super impressed by Evelyn's performance.
Here is my time to offer mea culpa and to give a little love to Morgan Boonshaft of Providence Day School, because she took over into the first mile. She was in the pink jersey, kind of stretching the race out and just running phenomenally up front, and we misidentified her because it was a crazy day and wet. But it was Morgan Boonshaft that made this race what it was. And, Evelyn ultimately had to reel her in at the end. But Boonshaft had an awesome race, finished third overall. She's had a great season where she finished just 13th at Foot Locker South, just outside the national qualifying. So this was her last race to really put something down that was special. And I think she made this race what it was. I mean, at one point, the lead was like 30, 40 meters.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she raced to win. Just like Leachman, I think, she made that big move, I think, because, she just wanted to keep it honest. Like, she wanted to make this race honest. Even if it was a bad day, she was going to have her race. And ultimately, that worked in her favor. Evelyn, I think, shout out to her, 41st last year, ends up winning. And she also said after the race that, next year she wants to build on this to get up to that national elite level and be considered one of the best runners in the country. So this year was a good way to build towards that, going undefeated. So really great stuff on both those sides. Anything else? What about Fossil Ridge?
Fossil Ridge. Shout out to them for handling their business. They were the runner-up at the Colorado 5A State Championships. They had 3 scores in the top 16, which is incredible. And then 30th and 36th, just edged out Barrington. You called out Barrington, right? Like that's who you predicted
that
win.
That was my pick.
By 18 points, so it was very, very close in margin. And Barrington scored 112. Brentwood snuck in there for third with 136 points. But Fossil Ridge, man, handling their business.
Yeah, one of their dads came up to me after the race and said that they were here last year. They finished 4th. they wanted to return and win. Because obviously there's a little bit of a distaste in your mouth when you come up a little short.
Yeah.
And, you look at them, they finished second and 5, as you said, to the best team in the country.
Yeah.
So when you run behind the best team in the country, you aren't often seen
Yeah, you're kind of
in that
overshadowed
light.
a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't think people really saw them as a top 25 team up until now. And I'm glad that they came here because they got their opportunity to really present why they are a good team that competed all year with the Niwats of the world, the Air Academies, the Mountain Vistas, and great example here with the Colorado team winning overall. And thought we were going to bring up anything?
No, I think I'm excellent. Yeah, because we had Fossil Rich just thinking MileSplit 50, like in the top 50. Had him sitting at 40th. So now it makes things a little interesting because it's like, okay, they're actually a solid.
Yeah.
They're actually a solid program.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Indoor season
I'm so pumped.
began
So
this
excited.
weekend. Specifically, some bigger races in Birmingham, Alabama, just up the road from Huntsville, and we also got some stuff out in Virginia Beach. Top 3 performers from the weekend that you saw, if you can give light to the girls.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start out with Shakayla Lavender. We're huge fans of hers. She goes to Oscar Smith High School in Virginia. Opened up her season with an 8:23 in the 55-meter hurdles at the Virginia Beast High School Invitational. So she's looking to have a really strong season there. Another athlete, Olivia Pace. Huge fans of her as well. She's your USC commit. One of the top returners in the short sprints. Started her season with the 7:45 and the 60 at the Akron Rustbuster High School Open. And just kind of looking at where she was last year, she debuted her season with a 7:42. So I'm like, hey, you're pretty much consistent and you're just going to get even better. Finished her season with a 7:38 last year. So I'm excited to see how Olivia Pace's indoor season unfolds. Now this next one, quite interesting. Jess Jazwinski from Hart High School in Michigan. She kind of snuck in there, she qualified for Foot Locker, ran indoor, and then she'll be at Foot Locker Nationals, I'm assuming this weekend. So
Speed workout.
Speed workout. That's exactly why I said it, because our intern Therese was like, that's kind of interesting. I was like, she probably got some speed in there before going off to Foot Locker. So This was her second time breaking 5 minutes in the 1600 meters during the indoor season. And again, she's having the cross country season of her life. 13 wins out of 15 races. That's solid. And again, like I mentioned, she finished 4th at the Midwest Regional Meet. More than likely will compete at Foot Locker. So yeah, the ladies are starting out really strong.
Was that GVSU? Was that GVSU, Grand Valley State, where she ran?
I believe so.
So, yeah, I think a lot of Michigan runners are in there. That's an oversized track.
Yes.
So it's much bigger than normal indoor facilities. So, yeah, I think you can build on
she was at the... Yes, that's where she was.
You can build on some speed there. So I perfectly see why she did that. And it'll be cool seeing what she can do at Foot Locker.
Yes.
On the guy side, we had 3 all-time performances, various classes over the weekend, which is outrageous. It's the first weekend of indoor.
That's insane.
2 freshmen out of nowhere just laid down awesome moments. Our guy David Wynn in Ohio slacked us over the weekend. Hey guys, just watch out for Hamir Averett Brown from Wayne, Ohio. He ran 6.89 at the University of Findlay this weekend in the 60, number 7 in freshman class history. That is great opening debut for freshmen. And then at that same meet in Michigan, GVSU, Mason Schmitz from Southeast Hamilton out of Indiana ran 1:55.34 in the 800, which is number 3 in freshman class history. He won a Nike Indoor Middle School 400 national title last year at Nike Indoor. So he's a name to watch this indoor season. 1:55 to begin is really, really good.
That's strong, yeah.
And then the last but not least, and probably the best performance here, Bradley Franklin from Thompson, Alabama, ran 7.71 in the 60-meter hurdles at the Magic City Invitational. That's number 21 all-time in the record books. He ran last year to finish his season at New Balance 7.91. So that's 0.2 of an improvement to begin his final season. Great moments from all 3, and we'll see what we can build off of that from here on out.
Exactly. Cannot wait.
All right, last but not least, we're going to get into our preseason national runner of the year, athlete of the year, watch lists.
Watch list.
Let's go before they even run. Let's do some watch lists.
Very early preseason national.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Athletes of the year.
Why not?
Insane.
Let's go, Olivia. You're gonna go with your first 2 watch lists first. So let's go with yours.
Okay. So you want me to start with girls?
We'll go with girls.
Okay. Girls picks for me. I'm really pumped. We have a lot of top returners that have made history, and I know we have a couple individuals on the screen right now, and it's just going to be an exciting year. I feel like this specific year is going to be... Last year was incredible. It's kind of hard to top what we witnessed, but I feel like it's going to be pretty darn close. For the girls, for my picks, my top 3, you have to have Mia Brahe Pedersen in this mix from Lake Oswego, 22.89 in the 200, 7.37 in the 60. I saw her actually. She was at NXN. I actually saw her, and I was like, "How's training going?" She's like, "It's been tough." And I'm like, "That means it's going to be a good year." And she's like, "Absolutely." So I'm excited to see what she does. And I feel like if you have Mia on here, you got to have a Deja Hodge. Like they're pretty much the same person. Deja Hodge from Mountain Verde Academy in Florida. She led the junior class last year in the 55, in the 200, went 7:22, and of course set the national high school record indoors, 22:33. Just incredible performance there. It's going to be hard to top that, but I feel like Deja, just seeing what she's doing on social media, she's looking strong, and I can't wait to see when she debuts and what we see from her. And I'm also going to include Ellie Shea in this mix from Emerging Elite from Massachusetts. She led the class last year in 5 events, ranging from the 1K all the way through the 2 mile. That range is just incredible. And she's already set multi all-time performances across the board. So I feel like Ellie Shea I have to have in this mix as well.
Good list. Love it. Love it. I think all 3 of those are going to be in the mix.
Yes. Okay, now for the boys. To the boys. This list I'm excited for. I felt like Quincy Wilson really gave us a glimpse of what his future could look like. The fact that he set 4 class freshman records last year, all the way from the 300 and up with a 34.11, 46.67 in the 400, 102.63 in the 5, and 117.80 in the 600. This guy has some strength, man, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what he does. And he even led the nation in the 400 and the 600 as a freshman. So look out for Quincy Wilson. Jelani Watkins, I'm going to put him in here, okay, from Klein Forest, 667 in the 60 to be U.S. number 6 last year. He's the top returner in this event. 2094 to be U.S. number 5 in 2023, top returner in this event. So he's coming off of winning a state title in the 200 at the UIL Outdoor Championships with a 2054. For me, I'm really curious to see how he does when he faces national competition.
If he follows.
If he does, right? Because I'm just looking at his profile. He's the fact that he's ran those times with only a couple meets underneath his belt, I wonder what his season could look like. But I'm not going to exclude Mr. Watkins in the mix. And I'm also going to include Pennsylvania's Drew Griffith. He just won the cross-country state title there. He's also gone 4:07 in the mile during indoors, and he did that to win the Pennsylvania state title. He's gone 8:48 in the 2 mile. He did that to finish 4th at New Balance National Indoors. He's also the fastest junior in the 1600 and the 2 mile. So this athlete now is a senior. You're going to go out with a bang, so I got to include Drew Griffith in the mix. Well.
I
do. I have a couple of honorable mentions. I feel like the guys list is really great. Honorable mention, Shamar Hurd. I feel like after what he did this outdoor season, I feel like he's going to come back strong, ready to go. And also Jaden Lippett from Winter Haven in Florida. He jumped 50 feet 8.25 inches to win Nike Indoor Nationals, which was the U.S. number 1 jump last year, and he had a very, very, very light indoor season. Literally had 3 meets to his belt. So I'm curious to see how he does, but he's on my radar as well. Yeah,
the only one I'm a little unsure about is Jelani Watkins, who's a football player. He may even graduate early, but although I don't think that'll be the case because, Klein Forest won the state track meet in Texas because of him. So I think he appreciates it enough to stay for the whole year and to run for them outdoors. But he only ran 2 indoor meets last year.
Exactly.
But it is a little different because, I think people will be offering him some opportunities to run at national meets. So we'll see if he takes them up. But there's always football there to be considered. Gatlin Bear is kind of in the same company. He ran once over the indoor season last year, and more than likely, I don't even think he'll run outdoors if he goes by what he said last year. So,
Yeah.
All good things to watch for. But those are awesome athletes. I agree with you on most of them. So on my watch list, I'll go with my three. Mia Brown Pedersen, I'm there with you, right there with you. I think breaking 23 again is kind of the goal, to see how far she can go under 22. Was it 8.9 or 9.1?
22,
Okay,
8.9, I believe.
yeah. So that's the goal there, I think, for her, and to run a good 60. Avery Lewis is there for me, Friends Central, mostly because I think if she puts out a long jump over 21 feet, or even gets to 22, which I think is possible for her, I think you have to put her in the conversation there, because she also runs the 200 really, really well. And then Allison Ince of Normal Community, going for sub 2. We over the last few years we've gotten girls in that sub 2 hunt, and I think if she accomplishes it, she goes 159 or anywhere near it, I think she's got to be in the conversation. The one thing with National Player of the Years or Athletes of the Year, we often go by really the best mark that was performed over a given year. National records take precedence, I think, on naming these things. So if they get one huge mark, I think that means more consistency that have been at the upper level. You have to get over the bar, I think, a little bit in order to get that National Player of the Year. So at least for us in recent times. So on the boys' side, also going with Quincy Wilson. I don't think he gets a national record this year, but I think he inches closer to it. Yes, he could surprise me, but I think he will get there, just not this year. My second one, Clay Shively of Wichita Trinity. I think he runs a sub 4. I think he didn't run nationals for an injury, I think, right? Like he crossed nationals. So indoor season, I think he goes after sub 4. I think he goes after 8:45 in the 2 mile and maybe a good 5K. So Clay Shively's in the mix for me. And then this is the sleeper pick that I don't think anybody's talking about.
I like this pick.
Abdul Sai Savan of ATL Zoom. This guy, I think, can go after Trey Cunningham's 60-meter hurdle national record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he is an absolute stud of an athlete. He has the potential to do it. He's run, 21:05 or 21:07 for the 200, so he gets under 21 seconds for me this year too. So I think he's going to be a guy that absolutely surprises people this indoor season if he's healthy. So those are my 3 picks for the preseason watch list on the national
and a national record potentially.
Yes.
Ooh, that just got spicy.
It got spicy. So we got one more.
Oh, man.
Well, we have a few more if you consider like USATF events, but we got one more big high school national championship on Saturday. That's Foot Locker Nationals at Balboa Park in San Diego.
Yes.
And then from that point, we're going end of season, Christmas time.
Yay! And also, if you're in San Diego, make sure you give Cory a happy birthday shout out on Saturday.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yes. Are you excited though for Foot Locker?
Yeah,
Are
it
you
should be
looking
fun.
forward to it?
Always like San Diego, palm trees and sun.
Trees.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Great.
We got that. We got indoor coverage coming up next year. 2024 is almost upon us.
Oh my gosh, we're like, I can't believe it's already December 5th. It feels like we're already mid-month.
Yeah.
It's gonna go like
that.
Poof.
Getting older, kids are still staying the same age. They're running fast. Yeah, covering all of it. Thank you for watching this episode of On the Line. We'll be back with you next week. Thank you.